You buy a new phone. The battery lasts all day, maybe even 2 days if you're careful. 6 months later, it's noticeably worse. By the end of year 1, you're charging twice a day. By year 2, the battery dies at 30%. You plug it in constantly. The phone feels slow, apps crash, and you start thinking, maybe it's time for an upgrade. That's not an accident. That's the plan. Your phone battery isn't dying because you used it wrong. It's dying because it was designed to die. And when the battery goes, you don't just replace the battery. You replace the entire phone. This is the story of planned obsolescence. The business strategy that keeps tech companies profitable and keeps you buying new devices every 2 years. Let's start with a confession. In 2017, Apple admitted something that users had suspected for years. They were deliberately slowing down older iPhones. The official explanation was that aging batteries couldn't handle peak performance, so the software throttled the processor to prevent unexpected shutdowns. Apple presented this as a feature, a way to extend the life of older phones. But users saw it differently. Their phones were being intentionally crippled. The backlash was immediate. Lawsuits were filed. Apple eventually paid a $500 million settlement, and they were forced to offer $29 battery replacements instead of the usual $79. But here's what most people missed. The admission wasn't the scandal. The scandal is that this behavior is standard across the entire tech industry. Apple just got caught. Your phone battery is a lithium-ion cell. It's the same technology used in laptops, electric cars, and almost every rechargeable device. Lithium-ion batteries work through a chemical process. Lithium ions move from one side of the battery to the other during charging and back again during use. Every time this happens, the battery degrades slightly, not because it's defective, because that's how chemistry works. After about 500 full charge cycles, a lithium-ion battery typically retains about 80% of its original capacity. After 1,000 cycles, it's down to about 60%. This degradation is unavoidable. It's physics. But here's the thing. 500 charge cycles could last you 3 years if the battery was bigger, or if the phone was designed to be more power efficient, or if the battery was easily replaceable. Tech companies know this. They've known it for decades, and they've made deliberate choices to ensure your battery dies right around the 2-year mark. Why 2 years? Because that's the typical length of a phone contract. That's when carriers allow you to upgrade. That's when the next model is released. And that's when your phone conveniently starts dying. Let's talk about battery size. Your phone is thin, sleek, modern. But thinness comes at a cost. A thicker phone could hold a much larger battery. The iPhone 14 is 7.8 millimeters thick. If it were 10 millimeters thick, just 2 millimeters more, the battery could be 30% larger. That would mean 30% more charge cycles before degradation became noticeable. But Apple doesn't do that. Neither does Samsung. Neither does Google. Because a phone that lasts 4 years instead of 2 isn't good for business. Every extra year you keep your old phone is a year you're not buying a new one. Then there's power efficiency. Your phone's processor gets faster every year, more powerful. But more power means more battery drain. Engineers could design chips that prioritize efficiency over raw speed. Phones could last 2 days on a single charge. But that's not what companies optimize for. They optimize for performance benchmarks that look good in reviews. They optimize for features that justify the higher price of the new model. Battery life is always secondary. And when your 2-year-old phone struggles to last a full day, you blame the battery, not the software updates that demand more power, not the apps that run constantly in the background, not the company that designed the system to consume more energy every year. Now let's address the big one. Replaceability. In 2007, when the first iPhone launched, the battery was sealed inside. You couldn't replace it yourself. This was a radical change. Previous phones had removable batteries. You could carry a spare, swap it out when one died. Extend your phone's life indefinitely. But Apple eliminated that option. They said it was for design reasons. A sealed battery allowed for a thinner, more elegant phone. Other manufacturers followed. By 2015, almost no mainstream phone had a removable battery. Suddenly, when your battery died, you had 2 choices. Pay the manufacturer $100 for a replacement, or buy a new phone. But even the replacement option is designed to frustrate you. Apple uses proprietary screws, Penelope screws that require special tools most people don't own. They glue the battery in place. They design the internals so that removing the battery risks damaging other components. Independent repair shops can do it, But Apple has spent years lobbying against right-to-repair legislation. They argue that third-party repairs compromise security and safety. The real reason is simpler. Every battery replacement they don't profit from is a lost sale. Every phone that gets repaired instead of replaced is money they're not making. The evidence of intentional design is everywhere. In 2018, a Harvard study analyzed iPhone performance over time. They found that Google searches for iPhones spiked dramatically right after new iPhone models were released, not gradually over months. Immediately after launch, users noticed their phones getting slower right when the new model came out. Coincidence? The study suggested otherwise. Software updates pushed to older phones were not optimized for older hardware. They were designed for the new models. Running the latest iOS on a 3-year-old iPhone meant running software built for a processor twice as powerful. The result was lag, crashes, battery drain, and the feeling that your phone was obsolete. Here's another data point. In 2019, France fined Apple €25 million for deliberately slowing older iPhones without informing users. The French government called it planned obsolescence and deceptive business practices. Apple paid the fine, but they didn't change their behavior. Because the fine was pocket change compared to the revenue generated by forcing upgrades. In 2023, Apple made nearly $200 billion from iPhone sales alone. A €25 million fine is the cost of doing business. But Apple isn't alone. Samsung, Google, and every other phone manufacturer use similar tactics. Samsung phones slowed down after major updates. Google Pixel devices have had battery issues that conveniently appear right around the 2-year mark. The entire industry operates on the same principle: design products that degrade predictably, make repairs difficult or impossible, push software updates that demand more resources than older hardware can provide, and watch as consumers upgrade on schedule. Let's talk about what this costs you. The average person replaces their phone every 2 to 3 years. A new iPhone costs between $800 and $1,500 depending on the model. Over a decade, that's 4 to 5 phones, $5,000 to $7,500. But if phones were designed to last 5 years, with easily replaceable batteries, you'd only buy 2 phones in that same decade. $2,000 to $3,000. The difference, $3,000 to $4,000, is pure profit extracted through planned obsolescence. Multiply that by 1 billion smartphone users globally, and you're re-looking at trillions of dollars in manufactured demand. The environmental cost is staggering. 15 million tons of electronic waste are generated every year. Phones that could be repaired are thrown away because it's cheaper to replace them. Rare earth minerals are mined in environmentally destructive ways to make new phones. Lithium for batteries, cobalt for circuits, gold and copper for wiring. These materials are finite, and we're using them to make devices designed to become trash within 2 years. The waste isn't a side effect, it's the business model. So what's the alternative? Some countries are fighting back. The European Union passed right-to-repair legislation in 2023. Manufacturers must now design products that can be repaired. They must provide access to spare parts. They must use standardized components when possible. France requires manufacturers to display a repairability score on every device. These laws are a start. But enforcement is weak, and companies find workarounds. Some manufacturers are responding. Fairphone, a Dutch company, makes modular smartphones designed to last 5 to 7 years. Every component, including the battery, is user replaceable. The phone costs about $500 and can be upgraded piece by piece instead of replaced entirely. But Fairphone has less than 1% market share. Most consumers still buy from Apple and Samsung because the marketing is better, because the ecosystem is more convenient, because planned obsolescence is so normalized we don't even recognize it anymore. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Your phone battery dies after 2 years because that S when companies want you to buy a new phone. The technology exists to make batteries last longer. The engineering knowledge exists to make phones repairable. But there's no profit in longevity. There's only profit in replacement. Every design choice, from sealed batteries to proprietary screws to software updates that slow older devices, is intentional. It's not incompetence. It's not bad luck. It's strategy. The next time your phone battery hits 20% by noon and you think about upgrading, remember this. You're not upgrading because the technology is outdated. You're upgrading because the battery was designed to fail, and the phone was designed to make replacement easier than repair. You're not a customer. You're a subscription service, paying every 2 years. Forever. That's the real reason your phone battery dies. Not because it wore out, but because it was never meant to last.